Don't sleep on the Browns. There are some reasons for optimism that the 2025 season could be better than expected, and I'll talk about it coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Dog Pound? I'm Spencer German, your host of the Locked On Browns podcast. I'm proudly covering your Cleveland Browns each and every single day in the land and on the road. 3 reasons to be optimistic about the Cleveland Browns 2025 season. On the flip side of that, 3 reasons to maybe still be pessimistic about the 2025 season for the Cleveland Browns. And for all intents and purposes, it's officially official. The Browns will be moving to Brook Park. I do want to thank you for being an everydayer at the Locked On Browns podcast, making us your first listen every single day. Remember, you can find Cleveland Browns content with Locked On Browns every week, Monday through Friday, except this week and next week. We're only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with bonus content on some weekends as well, and it's totally free. You just hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcast, and, of course, at the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. You can also get involved in the show by sharing your thoughts on anything we discussed today in the comment section. This is your team, so be part of that conversation every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, where right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. 3 reasons to be optimistic about the Cleveland Browns 2025 season. I'll give you the pessimistic side up next, but I always like to start with the good. So people have different takes on this. You sometimes you start with the bad and you end with the good. In this instance, I thought it would be better to start with the good, the positive reasons why there should maybe be some optimism about this upcoming season. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is something that I have hit on a bunch on this podcast in recent weeks, especially. And it's just this idea that the Browns are getting back to what they do best. They're getting back to Stefanski's, the general Stefanski offense, where I want to be clear on that, because Joe Bitonio even said, like, it's not like they're picking up the playbook, blowing off the dust from 2020 and saying, all right, here's what we're going to do. There's going to be some new wrinkles. There's going to be some different things. But in the grand scheme of how they're in the grand scheme of what they do, they are getting back to the basics of Kevin Stefanski's offense. No more of this quirky, let's make it fit for Deshaun Watson. Let's retrofit it for him. Let's do what he does best. Like, no, this is about Kevin Stefanski's system, running the football, having that be the backbone of what you do, and then having a good play action pass game off of that, the thing that Joe Flacco thrived in 2023, which is part of the reason why he's back here with the Browns in 2025, right? That is, I think, reason number one why I think there should be reason for optimism about this team. Because as I've said numerous times, competent quarterback play, an offense that isn't anemic and can't stay on the field for more than 3 plays, that can actually score, have some scoring drives for once, that gets you in the conversation in so many games that you give yourself a chance to win. Even 1-score games. Like, how many teams miss the playoffs every year where it's like they lost 5 or 6 1-score games? That could have changed their entire season. Like, even being in the conversation and being able to score and putting up a better fight, I think is enough to make this team at least better, more equipped and more competitive than they were a year ago, even though everyone's sitting there saying, like, well, hey, they're going to be a 3-win team again. I think that starts with also exciting rookies like Quinshon Judkins, somebody that is going to be a focal point of this offense and frankly has a chance to have a really big rookie year. He's going to be the workhorse back. I'm really excited about him. And part of that identity that they're trying to sort of reinstitute, the run game identity that they have, the power or the outside zone with some of the pulling schemes mixed in, is having a running back that can thrive in it. And I think Quinshon's perfect for it. So reason number 1 for optimism, getting back to what they do best. Reason number 2 for optimism about the 2025 season for the Browns, the defense should be dominant. Now, being as dominant as they were a couple years ago where they were number 1 in football, I don't know that I want to go there, because defenses, as I always like to say, are like bullpens in baseball. Year to year, they can just be so volatile, so different. You just never know if from what you saw one year is going to be the same the next year. It's always a complicated process that way. But so we'll see how that sort of shakes out. We'll see where it sort of falls in terms of the rankings. But I think this defense gets back to being really dominant. I think the defensive line, as I said a couple weeks ago, is the best it's been since Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry have been here. Certainly the best it's been under Jim Schwartz. And when he has a really good defensive line, man, his defenses are oftentimes at their best. I think it's going to be a bounce back year for somebody like MJ Emerson. You obviously got Denzel Ward on the other side. You've changed out some stuff in the secondary. Yes, you lost JOK, but you think Carson Schlesinger has a chance as a rookie to sort of cement himself as the replacement to him. I think the linebacker group is actually deeper than we said. These are all conversations I've had on like an ancillary individual level, but I'm bringing them all together to highlight the fact that I think this defensive unit is going to be dominant again. Maybe top 5. I think if you're top 5, you put yourself in a really good spot. And I continue to also go back to last year. This defense was misrepresented by the fact that the offense was so putrid. The offense was so bad that they were put in disingenuous situations where they were not able, frankly, to move. Like they were given short fields. There was a lot of turnovers. The Browns were committed so many turnovers last year offensively that they were constantly behind the 8 ball. If you get an offense, like I said, that's competent to complement this defense, again, both those two things together, reasons for optimism. So far we've got getting back to what they do best. We've got the defense being dominant again. And the third reason why I think there's reason for optimism is, and this is a big sort of could situation here. It's all about how much faith you have in the process of evaluating quarterbacks and in the guys that are on this roster right now. But the Browns might just find their quarterback of the future in this group. Shedeur Sanders could be the guy. Dylan Gabriel could theoretically be the guy. The Browns feel more confident that Gabriel is the one that they really liked because they took him earlier in the draft and they felt like they fell in love with him in a way during the pre-draft process when they had this private meeting with him. So they have a belief and a faith that he's going to turn into something. Okay, we'll see what it looks like when you put it all together out on the field and if he can actually like earn the job or where he sort of fits into this the quarterback depth chart when training camp wraps and all that. But in the grand scheme of things, they believe in the grand scheme of things and in the topic at hand, there is a chance that one of these guys sticks, one of these guys really steals the show, and one of these guys becomes your quarterback of the future. Joe Flacco certainly isn't that, whether he starts the season or not. Joe Flacco's at the tail end of his career. We know that about him. Kenny Pickett, I don't have a ton of faith that he's going to win the job or that he should be the starting quarterback for this team, as I've said before. But at the same time, like even if he sticks, could he kind of be your quarterback of the future in like a Sam Darnold kind of way? Of course. But I don't know that like you're going to lean into that as your future. Like if the Browns are just okay and they have a chance to draft a quarterback next year and Kenny Pickett plays the entire season, he's like, fine. I don't know that you swerve into that lane. I think you still should probably take a quarterback, even if it means Pickett's back next year because you pay him and then you still have this rookie waiting in the wings who's a first-round pick that you're excited about, whatever. But again, I think, as I've said a bunch of times, I think Shedeur Sanders can be the starting quarterback of this team, can thrive in this system, and is good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL to the point where if he shows something, if he shows in year one that he can be a franchise quarterback for you, even the early signs of it, I think you lean into that, and he could emerge as like the guy that we thought during the pre-draft process he could be, where he was maybe worthy of being the number 2 overall pick because you felt like, hey, this guy can handle this. So again, it's not a guarantee, but you might just have the franchise guy in this roster, and if they get the opportunity this season, we might learn that about one of these young quarterbacks and feel better about the direction of the franchise just because of it. So those are all, and if that happens, by the way, the sky's the limit for the Browns in 2025 because we all know so much of this league is baked in good quarterback play. And if that happens, watch out. 3 reasons for optimism, I gave them to you. What about 3 reasons to be pessimistic about the season? Those ones, probably a little bit easier to identify. We'll talk about them coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Listen, I get it. The NBA playoffs wrapped up a couple weeks ago. The NHL, same thing. And we're still a couple months out from football starting up, which we're all very excited about. But summer is considered a downtime of year in the sports calendar. It doesn't have to be. It's all about what you make it. And with FanDuel, you can enhance the viewing experience of some of these summer sports that maybe you think is not the most polarizing sports time of the calendar. At night, once I get my son down to bed, I'm throwing some baseball on the TV most nights as just kind of even background noise if I'm working. So it's even better to experience that with the FanDuel app. Whether I'm placing the same game parlay or watching a bet ride into the ninth inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I am part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started and place that first $5 bet with a chance to win $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. All right, so I gave you 3 reasons for optimism about the 2025 season for the Browns. What about the opposite? What about 3 reasons to be pessimistic about the Browns season? And I think what's interesting about this conversation too is that there are segments of fans in both buckets. There's always the eternal optimist Browns fan where they are constantly like talking themselves into this is the year no matter what everybody's saying. I heard that back in 2017 when the team went 0-16. And then there's the other side that's like, this organization's just never going to win. They're never going to get out of their way. And so we're covering all our bases here. And I do think on some level, because you're coming off a 3-14 season, the reasons to be pessimistic are going to stand out more to people. They're going to be more obvious. They're going to be, more clear and cut and dry here. And I think the first one, off of what I said at the end of last segment, that I think you could have the franchise quarterback here, in my opinion, in Shedeur Sanders, but maybe even in Dillon Gabriel. At the same time, the quarterback situation offers a lot of uncertainty right now. There are 2 rookies that you're hoping just kind of develop and you don't have to play and thrust in there too soon. There's Joe Flacco at the, again, 40-year-old quarterback who, yes, has done a lot of things, seen a lot of things, looks like the most consistent of the quarterbacks right now. He knows how to run this offense, but we also saw Joe Flacco with the Colts last year. Like, we're not stupid. We know that he's had at this point, at this stage of his career, a lot of ups and downs, and it's not as easy for him as it used to be. He's not the elite quarterback that he once was. So because of that, and then you have Kenny Pickett, obviously, who comes with his fair share of warts and questions just in terms of the early stage of his stages of his career and what he has or hasn't shown to this point. And so there's a lot of just, again, uncertainty is the right word in terms of who's going to win the job. Is there going to be a transition at some point during the season? Is anybody going to stick and like really take the reins on this thing and help the Browns have a better season than we're anticipating? All those questions, and with so much of this league, again, mattering when it comes to the quarterback position, it's just a lot of unknowns right now. And so because of all that, I think it's fair to be like, well, because we don't know what the quarterback's position is going to look like and if it's going to be consistent enough, I can't put a lot of stock in this team being good in 2025. And I understand where those sentiments would come from until you see it from a quarterback during training camp, preseason, whatever. And then maybe you can build some confidence in that regard. But the quarterback situation certainly leaves a lot to be desired at the moment as they sort of figure that thing out. And we sort of figure it out as viewers and people watching this team. And until it does, it's certainly at the top of the list of reasons to maybe be pessimistic about the season. I think also, not along those lines, but off of that, this team right now is hoping that a lot of guys stay healthy. I talked about this on Monday's show, the idea that the offensive line should be better this year. And you got Jack Conklin finally healthy. Joe Bitonio's back. Wyatt Teller's healthy, and he's back. Like, if they get back to doing what they do best, like we talked about, and those guys stay healthy, yeah, sky's the limit. Like, that unit could be really, really good again and get back to being one of the more notable and dominant offensive lines in football. But you're also banking on Jack Conklin staying healthy for a whole season. You're banking on others staying healthy for the whole season. You're banking on Denzel Ward not having any concussion issues and replicating what he did last year in a great season. Injuries are always going to be a factor in an NFL season for any team. It's just the nature of the beast. It's a very physical, grueling game. We know this. But I think across the board on this team, I mean, think about the last 2 years alone. A lot of turnover at the quarterback position in terms of injuries. A lot of turnover on the offensive line in terms of injuries. And there's other position groups that have been hit maybe harder or lesser. I think last year another one was linebacker. A lot of injuries at linebacker last year. So it's about managing that and the depth that you have. And I don't know that the Browns have depth at some of these areas enough to feel like if they lose a guy, they're going to be okay. And so because of that, like, wide receiver's one of them. If Jerry Jeudy goes down, what the hell are you going to do? What the hell are you going to do? You got like Deontay Johnson's the next most proven guy. And again, he has to sort of prove still to people that he's bought in. So yes, there's a lot of banking on this team being healthy. And I think if they are healthy, that's where I think the optimistic stuff comes into play. And you start to feel like maybe there's a chance this team surprises some people. If they don't stay healthy, well, the season could be over pretty quickly because one injury to one key player here or there, and all of a sudden you're realizing that this team is lacking depth in certain areas, and it could come back to bite them pretty hard. The third reason to be pessimistic about the Browns 2025 season for me just revolves around, I kind of alluded to this just a moment ago, but a lot of the offense in particular is leaning on a lot of unproven talent. When you have a lot of rookies on a team, there's two things that come with it. One is you have a lot of hope and on the potential of these guys. I think Carson Schwarzenegger is going to be pretty good, being the next version of JOK, if you will. I think that Quinshon Judkins, you guys know I've gushed about him. I think he's going to be really good. There's a few other guys that certainly come to mind. The rookie quarterbacks there's a lot of potential there. Harold Fannin, what's his role going to look like? Mason Graham, I didn't even mention, the number 5 overall pick. Like, number of players that you look at and say, okay, I'm excited about these guys, but they're also unproven at this point. We haven't seen them play at this level, and until we do, you can't like make a judgment one way or another of like what they're going to be. It's a guess otherwise. And so there's that. The wide receiver position in particular is a lot of young guys, not even necessarily rookies, but just young guys who haven't necessarily proven to at the NFL level that they can be great players and consistent players. And so the jury's still out on a number of guys. Even somebody like Cedric Tillman that they're really excited about, that I think has a chance to really flash this year and come into his own and carve out that role for himself. There's questions about him right now. So wide receiver position maybe most notably has this issue, but there are a lot of players on this team that are just unproven and still have to sort of showcase what they can do and show it to you. And that goes for the rookies and elsewhere. But that's another reason why, when you have a team that's built that way, and you need to get there. You need to get to a point where your team is building through the draft and you do have young players that are contributing, because that's how you get to the point of being a juggernaut eventually, where you can sort of time everything right, have the right quarterback contract in there on a rookie deal type thing. And then you just kind of supplement around it with other, with other young players. So this was a necessary step for this team to sort of embrace the youth movement, if you will. But at the same time, there are a lot of unproven players that still have to go out there and show it to you on a regular basis to feel like they can help the Browns this season and potentially beyond. So while we wait for that, I think it's an obvious reason to be somewhat pessimistic about the upcoming season. And those are my 3 reasons overall why pessimism is going to be a real thing for this Cleveland Browns team. It's why Vegas has the odds at 4.5, a lot of places, 5.5, some places in terms of their overall win total. I think they go over that, but it's no surprise why, when those are some of the things that you're dealing with, the realities that you're dealing with, the quarterback situation. That's just it's kind of a hot potato right now. You're nobody knows how that's going to sort of shake out to this point just yet. You're hoping a lot of guys to stay healthy, and frankly, there's a lot of unproven talent, especially on offense, that you're banking on. It could work out. These guys could hit, and it could be wonderful. It also might take some time, and they might have to sort of adjust some things and figure some things out as they go. As of Monday, it is all but official. The Cleveland Browns will be playing in Brook Park in 2029. We'll talk about it coming up next on the Locked On Browns podcast. All right, so we've talked about the stadium a few times on this show. I know people get bogged down in the minutia of it sometimes, so I don't want to beat a dead horse here or anything. And I know I think I talked last week about the idea that the Brook Park thing is happening, the budget is going to get approved, but it officially happened on Monday with Mike DeWine, governor of Ohio, obviously signing it into law that they were going to include $600 million in funding for the Browns' new stadium project in their budget moving forward for this newly approved budget. So but It's multiple fronts here that the Haslam's and the Browns kind of win. They did release a statement on Tuesday in the aftermath of this, saying we respect the firm commitment and leadership that Governor DeWine and the Ohio Senate and House have shown in the collaborative work to find a responsible way to support such a I wish I could talk today. Transformative project, one that will create a generational impact on our region and our state. Our fans deserve a world-class facility, and we are committed to building a state-of-the-art enclosed stadium that resonates with the Cleveland, highlighting our loyal and passionate fans and the Dog Pound while also incorporating innovation, bold design, and an immersive experience. That'd be a better word. The new enclosed Huntington Bank Field will be completely fan-centric, a first-of-its-kind design in the NFL, and a dynamic venue that draws visitors from across Ohio and beyond for concerts and significant sporting events throughout the year. The premier facility will anchor a major lifestyle and entertainment development and be a catalyst for one of Northeast Ohio's largest economic development projects ever, and something our community will be proud of and can enjoy for years to come. We appreciate the support of state leaders and their belief in this transformative project. And so after that, the Browns also released like a number of other statements. One was like a message to fans about the team moving with all these different like updated blueprints and different things with the facility and how you can get a sense of like how it all looks and what's all happening and all these details of the facility and why it's going to be so special and all this different stuff. I don't need to bore you with all that. You can check it out for yourself, obviously, if you head on over to the Browns website or the Browns Twitter or whatever and click on the link. But what's important here is that the Haslams and the Browns, the team they own, I mean, they won resoundingly when it came to like this back and forth with the local governing representatives, if you will, government representatives, because it wasn't just the $600 million. The county on multiple fronts has tried to block the stadium from happening by invoking the Modell law. Well, the state changed the Modell laws to make it basically like, unless you're moving the team out of the state, you don't have to jump through these hurdles to move your team, especially when you're keeping it in the county nonetheless. They tried to keep the Browns from being included in any future sin tax funds that are going to be used for renovations, which that was something that is now going to be on the ballot for voters in Cuyahoga County this fall. You can vote to increase the sin tax money that is used on the renovations for these stadiums. And if you do that, the Browns are going to be part of it because they're staying in Cuyahoga County again, and the county can't just ban like a team from being in it because they don't like that they moved when voters already voted on teams in the county getting this money. So on multiple fronts, like city officials kind of lost here. And I understand there are sentiments to the stadium being downtown. I get why there's a draw. I get it's always been that way. I do think this facility has a chance to be transformative, as they said. I know it's a very cliche word, and it's something that Northeast Ohio like would never get a chance to see or utilize or take advantage of or have otherwise. So I, for one, am excited about it. Now, I'm not going to do this every time there's like a new update anymore because it's just this pretty much draws the line in the sand. This is happening. They got this $600 million from the state. That's the big chunk they really needed from the state to make this thing go forward. There's another $600 million that they need to fund in public money. That the hope was that they were going to split that like $422 million from the city of Brook Park and $178 million from the county. And the county, again, has balked at everything. So what it sounds like is they'll still get the $422 in bonds issued by the city of Brook Park. And they'd get a better interest rate if the county signed them, but they won't. So they'll just take what they can get. And then the other 178 that they were supposed to get from the county or were hoping to get from the county will just be funded by the Haslams in the end. And so they'll sort that last chunk of change out. That'll be the last like hurdle to clear. Like there's a few final logistical things they have to sort through. Yes. But for all intents and purposes, this stadium is happening. It's being built. And in 2029, the Browns will be in Brook Park. Now, I think there's another interesting conversation to have off of this of like, who of the players on this roster right now will actually be here when the stadium opens? And there's probably only a handful of guys. Maybe Myles Garrett, because that's like the last year of the deal he just signed. If he doesn't get hurt and he stays healthy and all that. Mason Graham, number 5 overall pick. You'd think he'd be here. Maybe like a Quinshon Judkins if he has like a Nick Chubb-like career and gets a second contract. I think any of the rookies are kind of fair game, but most of the veterans on this team will not be here when this thing is built, which is why I think it's funny that, this is maybe a more so like an us thing in the media. Like when we ask questions about like, what do you think about the stadium? I really don't try to ask those questions because these players, they are like, think about like the life cycle of an NFL player. It's called not for long for a reason, right? They're not thinking about, 5 years from now, where they're going to be playing or what they're going to be doing. They're trying to get paid like every single offseason, a lot of these guys. And so they don't know if they're going to be in Cleveland beyond this year. And so like asking somebody who's on like a 1-year deal or something like, hey, what do you think about the stadium news? It's just like, it does not pertain to them in the least, because they quite literally have to wait 5 years for this thing to be completed, 4 years now. And they have no idea if they're going to, they have no idea if they'll even be in the league next year, let alone playing in Cleveland for the Browns specifically. So I always think that's a funny practice, but it's safe to say that only a handful of guys we can guarantee or consider being on this team and when this stadium opens in 2029. But for those who have been following this story, yes, it's all but official at this point, unless some big hurdle presents itself, that the Browns will be breaking ground in February on the Brook Park Dome project and the accompanying development, and then they'll be playing their football there in 2029 and beyond. So whether that's good or that's bad, I guess is for you to decide, because I know it's a very divisive topic in general, or controversial topic in general, but it is happening. And DeWine's signature on Monday essentially brought it to its climax, where this is how this is all going to sort of unfold from here. Another episode down with you, Dog Pound. Thank you for joining me as always to talk about your favorite football team. More to come this week, including on Friday's episode. Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavs is going to join me, because he talks football too, and I want to pick his brain on a number of things. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, make Locked On Browns your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting, or you can keep it local. Check out Locked On Cavs or Locked On Guardians. Thank you, as always, for being an everyday here at the Locked On Podcast Network. I will talk to you again real soon, Cleveland. See ya.